What are political campaign strategies? It's a blueprint for how you're going to sell a candidate to voters. Now, if you are a candidate yourself, or if you're working for one who might need some help with this, I'm going to suggest you watch this video to the end, because what you're going to learn will be incredibly invaluable to your campaign. We're going to cover three basic things in this presentation. It's what you are going to say to voters, who you're going to communicate that message to, how you are going to disseminate that message. All are vital components of a political campaign strategy, so stick with me. The first component of a political strategy is what we call your campaign message. And it boils down to this. It has 5 components. We're going to start with the one that is most important. What do voters get by voting for you that they're not going to get from anybody else? What are you going to do for them? You see, in politics, you're kind of a product, kind of like cereal, only people don't get cereal by a vote. They get cereal by the exchange of money. You're a product in the marketplace of politics. People get what they want by choosing you, and they buy you with a vote. That gives you the power to make changes on their behalf. So what is it that you're going to do for the voters in your jurisdiction? What are you selling today? What are you going to do that will make their quality of life better? How are you going to do that? That is the most important component of your campaign message. And if it's not a good one, and if your offer is not sexy, they're going to go look for someone who speaks their language, and if yours isn't sexy, it won't be you. So give some thought to what you want to accomplish when you get the power to do it, because that's really important to the voters that you're trying to appeal to. The second thing is, what they're going to want to know is, after they've heard you offer, are you capable of delivering the goods? Meaning, do you have the qualifications required to actually do the job? Have you done something real in your life that proves that you can handle responsibility that comes with the power you're asking voters to give you? There are lots of things you can talk about that lets voters know you're qualified. If you've raised a family, if you've held a job, if you've won awards, if you've served your community, if you're deeply passionate about fixing a problem, all of that is the qualification that you've got to say to voters, here, I've done this, I can do this job. The third thing that voters want to know is that your values are in sync with theirs. Do you care about the same things they do? Do you share concerns about the same problems they do? Do you care about people in your community that maybe need a hand up? Do you care about the tax bills that they pay? Do you care about the schools in your community? Are you interested in improving them? Your moral code must be on display one way or another in your campaign messaging, because somewhere along the line, if they get the idea that your values are out of sync with theirs, they're not going to vote for you no matter what offer you put on the table. They're just going to assume that you're not qualified to vote on their behalf. Fourth thing, voters would love to know that they can trust you to do the right thing. And why? Because they're pretty cynical. They've been promised a lot that's never been delivered. They've heard politicians talk about all this stuff they're going to do, and then the politician gets there and doesn't do any of it, or they decide at the last minute because of political pressure that they've changed their mind and this really wasn't a priority after all. So tell them something about your past, or an experience you've had, or something you've experienced that lets them know that you're absolutely sincere about fixing a problem that they are experiencing, and then they'll trust you to do the right thing. Now, the fifth component of your campaign message here is what makes you better than your opponent. What are you going to do that they'll never get done? What policy position are you going to advocate where they're on the opposite side of the fence? What will you do that they could have done but never did? What about your past demonstrates that you have a deep commitment to your community that perhaps your opponent has never proven or doesn't have? What makes you better than the people who are running against you. These are the components of a campaign message. If you have a good one, you're going to make progress. If it's not a good one, you will not. Who are you going to send this message to? Oh, here's a fact of life about politics. Almost everywhere in these days, not all voters are going to vote for you. Very polarized times that we live in. Hot-headed people with really firm opinions on one thing or another that think people associated with the other party are evil and vice versa. So there's no point in talking to the people who are never going to vote for you. So don't target them at all. It's a waste of money and it's a waste of your time. You want to look for the fruit in your orchard that is easy to reach. And the voters against you are at the top of the tree. There's no point in trying to go up there and risking your life on a ladder to try and pick it. Get the stuff that's closer to the ground, and that would be voters who can be persuaded to vote for you and voters who will support you if you get them to the polls. Now, lots of ways to look at how you divide the electorate here, but one of the surest ways to look at your jurisdiction is look at past voting patterns geographically in your district. That will give you an idea of what the base vote is for the other party, what the base vote is for your party, and those who do tend to go back and forth. If you know what you're looking at, and if you understand how to look at data like that, you can figure out certain groups of people who are going to be against you, those who could be for you if you send them the right message, and those who will be for you if you get them to the polls. It is done in every political campaign. That is the basic tool, the basic reason to figure out how you're going to target the voters. Now, devote your resources to those who are persuadable. How do you find them? Dig into the demographics of your district. Is your message more appealing to people who graduated college than it is blue-collar workers? Well, college-educated people might be one of your sweet spots here. Is your message more attractive to older voters than it is younger voters? Well, then make sure your message is heard by every older voter you can find. Is your message more palatable to working-class people who work with their hands as opposed to white-collar people who make high incomes? Tailor your message accordingly. You have to look at the demographics. If you don't know where to find them, leave a comment in the comment section and I will tell you where you can find this invaluable resource. Okay, so we talked about the what you say and we talk about who you say it to. Now it's time to talk about how you disseminate your message. And I'll start with the most basic way that candidates have communicated with the electorate since the beginning of time. They give speeches. Every candidate at some point during a campaign has to stand up and talk. That speech, if you do it well, will attract volunteers and it will attract donors if you learn to be a great speaker. You know what? It's pretty easy to do if you're passionate about what you are saying, because your passion is magnetic when you are giving a speech and you mean every single word. There are also words that fly off your lips in Zoom calls that you may do with a group of voters. What you say at a town hall meeting, what you say during the course of a political debate, what you say when you're addressing a television camera at a press conference or a meeting where you're being endorsed by half a dozen influential people in your community. Use your words well. Be clear and compelling with the words that come out of your mouth. It will help you be magnetic and help you advance your cause. You want to hear a story? I'll tell you one. It was 2007. In the presidential campaign between Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. The gathering place was a big auditorium in Iowa where 3,000 political activists had gathered to hear all of the presidential candidates stand up and give a talk. Barack Obama that night gave the speech of his life. I won't compare him to the others because there was no comparison. He walked to the stage. He grabbed a microphone. He didn't stand at a podium. He didn't have a script. He didn't even have notes. He just had a conversation. And with the magic of the way he spoke to their hopes and their dreams, their wish for a better tomorrow, how America could be the great country that they had once known, where rural communities are not left behind, where people can live peacefully together in diverse communities, where schools worked. He peeled the paint off the walls. That night, most of the people went home, back to their communities and said, in the Iowa caucuses next month, I'm going to vote for Barack Obama. And they were so energized that they got on the phones with their neighbors and their friends and said, this guy is gold. We got to turn out and vote for him. As a consequence of that speech, Barack Obama won the Iowa caucuses in an upset victory, and he was on his way to becoming President of the United States. That is the importance of a great speech. And you have the opportunity to do that each and every time you address an audience. There is a second tried and true way to disseminate your message, and it's called a ground operation. It's where volunteers go door to door and knock on doors and speak on your behalf and ask people at the door to vote for you. And they got a little palm card that they give you when they're talking to you. They have something that you can sign that tells the candidate that you have signed up to be a supporter, perhaps a petition or a commitment to vote. I'll tell you another story. I live in New York City. A young man, 33 years old, who was barely on the radar screen 5 months ago, just won a Democratic nomination for mayor. He went from 1% to winning 40% of the votes in a contest where over 1 million people voted. What did he have that the better funded candidates did not have? Well, he'd spent a lot of time on social media, and people really liked what he had to say. They were enthralled by his magnetism and his authenticity, and they signed up to volunteer. And when they signed up to volunteer, that candidate gave them something to do. They knocked on hundreds of thousands of doors in New York City. And in fact, that portion of the electorate that was under 35 actually outvoted the piece of the electorate that was older than that, because he spoke to young people and met them where they were and talked about the plight of trying to live in New York City where everything costs too much. That is the power of a ground operation. Now, I mentioned that this young man used social media, and that's how he got his start. He used TikTok, he used YouTube, he used Facebook, he used Instagram, he used Twitter. He was ubiquitous on all of them. It is what we call feeding the beast. Social media is a very, very powerful tool, but one of its greatest uses is candidates who are their authentic self, posting every day about the campaign trail, the way they feel about issues of our time, aspects of their background, the things that they've experienced, the things they've seen, the things they've heard that make them compassionate about fixing a problem that concerns people in their city. And it became the source of those volunteers who went on and knocked on all those doors. Frankly, part of the trouble with the other candidates is they would never do anything that wasn't scripted. They only did it once a week or less frequently than he did. And gradually he grew his organization and his social media presence because he was willing to feed that beast each day and every day, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day. It kept his content fresh, and it made him interesting. The final how-to on how you disseminate your message is paid advertising. TV is available to you if you can afford it. There are different kinds of television, but even in small jurisdictions, it's possible to use some form of television or digital advertising to reach an audience. Radio is still a good medium in certain parts of the country that have a dominant radio station. Persuasion mail is almost universal at all levels of politics. Even candidates for the U.S. Senate and candidates for governor use persuasion mail to drive home a message targeted at niche audiences that are part of their winning coalition, talking about what they get by voting for them. This is how you put together a campaign strategy. What you say, who you say it to, and how you say it. Now, if you'd like to know more about how to win an election, I got a free gift for you, and it's another video. How to run for office, 7 essential steps. I give you a piece of the strategy here, but go to that video because we go into a lot more detail about other things that will enhance your understanding of how to prosecute a successful political strategy. Do it right now. Take a pen with you so you can make some notes.